Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to That Silverline Show on Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim TK, and I'm joined, as always, by Jose Fuentes.
Hello.
And David Rios.
Hello, how are you doing?
And tonight we're going to be talking about how you can go about marketing your comic online, something I know a lot of us indie creators struggle with. As some background, my day job, I am a creative director and marketing director for one of the largest HVAC dealers in the United States. So hopefully I can give you some insights on how you can make the internet work for you and hopefully make a little more money off your comics. But before we get into that, as always, we like to get to know what is influencing our creators and what speaks to us. So Jose, this week, last 2 weeks actually, since we were out last week, what have you been reading, watching, or playing?
I played a little bit of Minecraft. I don't like it, but I played it.
Okay. Why don't you like it?
I don't know. To me, it's kind of tedious. Like when I play Ark, it's basically the same thing, I think, when it comes to like building stuff.
Yeah.
I like dinosaurs more.
That's fair. I feel like, playing Ark and saying Minecraft is tedious, I feel like it really just comes down to the dinosaurs.
And then reading, I started rereading, I don't remember what it was. It was a Scout comic book. It's about an elephant and like this squirrel.
Okay.
That and I started reading also DC Vampires, World War V.
Mm.
So it continue like the next storyline for the DC Vampire storyline.
Yeah. Nice.
And that's pretty much it.
Sounds good. David, what about yourself? No, no video games. I haven't really played with that. Um, TV, I think really the only thing that I've watched is I watched the first 2 episodes of the Harkness series. Yeah. How are you liking So, that? It's different. It's kind of weird. Sure. But let's see where it goes. Yeah. I've been feeling like starting it because it feels like a good like spooky season watch. Mm-hmm. Right. It's a good time of year for it. So yeah. And then reading wise, still been kind of continuing the X-Men, the Krakoa era stuff. Yeah. I've also been reading some of the Creature Commandos. Nice. The old ones.
Yep.
old ones.
I have several.
Well, I'm a Prime member, so the Epic collection, basically, of the Weird Tales ones, are all under Prime Reading for free. So nice. And reading through those are definitely interesting. What else? And then I've been kind of here and there picking up or reading through some of the Mad Cave books. The Gotcha Man, Flash Gordon, some of those books. I'm waiting for my last Kalis book to come in. I thought it was supposed to be out already. The one with Diamond. I know it's this month, but I thought it came out, but my comic store hadn't gotten it in yet. So once I get the fourth one, I'll go through and read the four issues back to back. So yeah, that's pretty much stuff that I've been kind of reading here and there over the last couple weeks. So nice. I've been on the opposite of things, and not as much reading as you, but more gaming and watching. The nice thing about having a Switch is taking care of a partner with a broken arm. It's kind of easy to put up and down. Mm-hmm. But I finally got into Persona 5. So that is a massive game, and I realized that I'm like 30 hours in and only starting the third dungeon, so I'm like barely like getting close to a third of the way through.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying that. It's not my usual type of storytelling or narrative, but the gameplay loop is fun. That with some Final Fantasy 14 and Final Fantasy 4. A lot of turn-based RPGs. Final Fantasy 4? Yes. Nice.
OG.
Yeah, OG. And yeah, I think it still holds a place. 4 and 8 will always vie for like my favorite place. 8 was the first one where it got me into it, but the storyline for 4 was just it hit in a way that I needed it to when I first got introduced to that game. Yeah, for me it'll always be 7. Yeah, 7 got me into it, and I know they have all the new ones, and that's really cool, the new graphics and stuff. But there's there is that fun factor of the original game of it. So yeah, that as well, definitely. Watching wise, we saw Beetlejuice 2. Okay, that was very fun. I have some gripes with some of the writing. I feel like the pacing and some of there are elements of it that were extraneous that didn't need to be where they were, or that there's one character I felt like that wasn't as well connected to the rest of the storyline as I felt like they should have been. There was like that one of those weird things that have a plot hook that just ends in the middle of Act 2. I'm like, oh, I feel like this could have easily just waited for Grand Thane in Act 3. It just kind of feels like it's throwing a wrench in everything. But they leaned into just being absolute, like, batshit crazy.
Okay.
Which really sold a lot of the humor and just made it also fantastic. So I enjoyed that.
Awesome.
Reading wise, I've been reading something very boring, which is Don't Trust Your Gut. It's a book on data science.
On what?
Data science.
Oh,
All right. I can see. I can see what you
that's
mean.
work related. It's got to be work related.
Yeah, it is. You can tell that is like, a workbook.
Right.
But yeah. Go. And Pops in chat promoting tomorrow's shows. So if you are a avid Madness watcher, be sure to look out for those. And if you are listening after the fact, head on over to youtube.com/ get the exact name here, Madness Comic Network, and you can watch all those VODs on demand. Okay. So like I said before, we're talking about how to market your comic online. So I will ask you guys, do you have any experience with marketing, or how's been pushing your books that you've created? How has that been for you guys?
I mean, begging's marketing, right?
Sure.
I think that's the only bit of marketing I know. Hey,
I
please
haven't
don't
really been.
buy my books.
I haven't really been marketing much. So
That sounds about right. So this is something that I found has been a common theme amongst comic creators, is that the closest you get to marketing is doing doing local comic shows and pitching your product there, which is marketing, but it does not, if you're trying to get your book spread out to the far reaches of the world, we will need to take the scary step and go into the world of online presence and social media and all that. So hopefully we can demystify that a little bit, talk about how that works from a practical standpoint, and give you some options for if you just want to do your own marketing for free or if you want to throw money at it, and everything in between. So then I will ask you guys this. When you have created your comic, and I say never write a comic with the intention of writing for someone in particular, or drawing it with the intention of someone in particular, but like draw it for yourself essentially, or write it for yourself. But afterwards, do you have an idea of what your comic reminds you of? Like I have said that Wolf Hunter is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles meets Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
no, I've never had that kind of revelation.
We were told in school to that's what's it called, an elevator pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, we were kind of taught to pitch ourselves or our project, right, in the shortest amount of sentences possible.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've had to do it for class, but I don't think I've ever really done it for any book that I've worked on, including like stuff that I've self-published. You know what I mean? I don't think I've ever quite done that.
Sure.
The logic behind it is, like I said, it's kind of baffling to me. They're like, yeah, it's Goonies and Faces of Death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the reason why the mashup strategy ends up getting used a lot is widely because it is effective. And I'm not going to spend a whole time getting into consumer psychology, but I'm going to use this segue into the first step for any marketing campaign, any sort of idea for if you want to like throw something out into the ether and hope it sticks. You have to create a target audience, and as much as we want our target audience to be everyone, unfortunately we can't. Unless you're Neil Gaiman, you're not going to get everyone to buy your comic.
Right.
Yeah. I almost said it for Alan Moore, but then I realized like not even comic fans will buy Alan Moore comics. Alan Moore fans will buy Alan Moore comics. So yes, the simplest way to do this is to define two pre-existing pieces of media. They don't necessarily need to be comics. Sometimes it's better if they're not. That you feel like when they connect, you get something similar to your storyline.
Something that people can already relate to?
Exactly. So the idea is that if your book is brand new, if you're trying to get a new reader into your book, it kind of doesn't matter how much you can go into detail on your book. That's why you don't really see like those like big summaries on the back of like book covers anymore. Instead, you're going to get like a small blurb at the front inside the leaf.
Okay.
And you're going to find two things that end up people will relate to, and if ideally you want these to be like well-reviewed things, like well received, because then immediately their mental association of your book is hitting those well-received markers. But also, if there are genres or pieces of media that they enjoy, then now you have that association that you would fit right in there. So it's something that they already would enjoy. You don't need to do any selling on it, right? And so, for some people, the fear might be, well, if they don't enjoy those two things I listed, then they're not going to want to buy my book. And you kind of don't want them to, because if they don't enjoy the two things you listed, they may not enjoy your book, and then they have a bad opinion of you. So defining down and niching down who you're targeting your book at through a method like that, creating that small elevator pitch will go a long way as you talk about your paid advertising and everything like that. And we'll get into kind of things there. Like if you want to get into the creating a data persona that you then can tell Facebook or whatever to target with things. Those are your starting points. You don't really need to think about anything more than what they're already interested in, because chances are stuff like that already exists on the internet. Especially if you tell someone like, oh, it's like the Goonies meets X, right? You're going to find a lot of people with Goonies content or people who enjoy Goonies content. And there is a scary amount of data out online that you will now start getting served to those people if you list your stuff alongside Goonies content. You can do this organically. You can do this through paid. However you want to do it. And so when I say organic versus paid, I'll ask you guys this. Have you posted pictures of your work before on social media?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've put a couple of things up there.
Okay. So that is like the first step to kind of doing organic marketing. Have you guys spent much time like adding like hashtags to them, or adding a description to them, or you just kind of post the art and then go about your day?
I try my best to add.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I try my best to add hashtags. Just stuff that's related to what I do. You know what I mean, like inker, colorist. I mean, stuff like that. But I don't always remember.
Yeah, that's fair. So when you're creating sort of that organic approach, if you don't want to spend money on Facebook ads, and you're just posting pictures of your work, or if you're a writer talking about your work online, having those hashtags of other things that exist in the same genre or the genre itself is going to be the first step in kind of doing that, getting your comic associated with the elevator pitch, right? So if you tag yourself with things related to, I'm just going to go back to the Goonies reference again. if you tag your post like with the Goonies hashtag, or you talk about how like the Goonies influenced this decision, or how like when you drew this, it reminded you of the Goonies, the algorithm is going to start feeding that to Goonies fans. Because everything now is algorithmic and search served and all that stuff. Yeah. If you want to get really into nitty gritty of it, you can go down to like age, location, income, stuff like that. For a comic, I don't think you necessarily need to. Maybe stay on the younger side of things. Do like, but even then, comics have been around forever now, so you never know.
Right.
So, Method Quickie asks, do Facebook ads usually work? They may or they may not. So that's something we'll get into. When you're going about doing all of this, you'll need to do several rounds of testing, and it sounds like it'll all work. And it can be if you want to get really into it, but you don't necessarily need to let it be. It might be a matter of throwing $5 at Facebook, seeing if you get any traction on it at all. And if it doesn't, okay, great. You know, Facebook isn't the way to go about it, or you need to change something about that Facebook post. You can throw $5 at Google AdSense or Google AdWords and have your comic appear on comic-related websites, right? And see if you get any tracks from that. Things like, and just kind of do things like that, not throwing your entire budget on any one particular item, but trying to find the right one that will fit for you. For some people, you find a lot of success just by doing organic, natural, like posts. We'll talk about like doing more personality-driven content on your Instagram, doing YouTube videos, streaming on Twitch. That's what I do. But other people, like the creators of Maddie, they found success doing meta ads, primarily over Instagram, as opposed to Facebook itself. So they turned Facebook off and then spent all their money on Instagram. So it depends on a number of things, and it's kind of all about your testing for it, right? For some people it works, for some people it doesn't. Like Apex Comics says, it really not effective for them. So before you get to any of that, one thing that is also kind of basic sales mindset when you're thinking about your comic is understanding your unique value proposition or unique selling point. If you take like a class on sales, they're going to call it a USP, unique selling point. And this is something that booksellers, book publishers will try to find all the time. And this is kind of where we get some of the pull over from. It's planes, trains, and automobiles versus with Tinker Soldier Spy. Great, it's spy shenanigans, kind of stuff like that. But they're going to try to find something unique about your creation that you feel like you have done exceptionally well or that no one else does. And, you know, being creatives with their own voices, everything's going to be unique. It's just a matter of finding that, because we don't necessarily think about our own stuff in that way sometimes. And sometimes we need a friend or an editor to tell us we do something exceptionally well, because if you're like me, every time you reread a script you've written, you think it's absolute crap.
Wow.
So have you guys had that conversation where someone is telling you like, oh, I really like this thing you do? Or do you have that moment where you finish working on a page and like, oh crap, I really did this level of like hatching really well?
I've definitely had that like conversation with myself about the work I've done. It's like, man, that page looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And I just stare at it. It's like, I'm done. I can't do anything more.
I've
I know. Oh, sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your.
I was just saying. I know. Several creators are like, oh, I spend this much time on a page, and regardless of whether I think it's done or not, it's done. Right. I don't think I can look at a page and do that. I have to like know that it's done, that
Right.
I've given it enough depth, enough, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
enough information that it helps enhance the page.
Yeah. This can be something that you've done exceptionally well, or it can be something that is kind of a different take on like that. Personal example, Martin Bertonen, the way that he colored Wolf Hunter, I use as a selling point for Wolf Hunter because it's colored in the style of a Euro comic.
Yeah.
Which is,
I got
typically not something that's commonly done in the United States anymore. So that is something that, if you enjoyed like European war comics from like the last couple of decades, it's that same style of art, right? If you look at Sandman did the same thing, where the art of it was so weird and unique, but also the writing was so heavily narrative driven that they were able to sell on both points of that, other than just Neil Gaiman's name. A lot of people learned about Neil Gaiman through Sandman. Looking at I'll go to like Rocky Kim's art, and the fact that like he does like very jagged lines and everything has kind of a sketchy look until you get to impact frame, and then it's like a lot of like hard lines, and it creates this really, when you're reading a military style comic, it has a very like visually impacting look when you're just looking at the line work, not even looking at the rest of the page. So finding something that's unique about that, and it can be one or two things, ideally one or two things. So when people talk about your comic or whatever, they can say like, this is the one thing that really stood out to them. And then when you're creating your ads or your content, or when you're talking about it yourself, you can say like, this is something I really like about this comic, because that's what's going to stick with people besides your pitch. If you think about a lot of our favorite movies and stuff like that, especially like 10, 20 years down the line, you probably don't remember every detail about all your favorite stuff, but you remember one particular thing that you thought it did effectively well.
Makes sense.
Sam K threw first issues of Vertical Sandman, right? I believe so. And like I said, it's been a while. I don't remember all the details of the cover of the staff, but also being a writer, I'm more keen to remember writers' names as opposed to artists for most of the time, except for a few exceptions. And so if you have a hard time looking at your own content and finding that one thing, like sometimes I have a time looking at my own stuff and finding that, because I think my own stuff is trash, because I've been looking at those words for so long in edits that I hate everything about them. That you need to have the editor say like, oh no, you did like dialogue in here like fantastic, or oh no, like the character development here, like, it was something that stood out compared to the rest of the stuff in our submission box right now. So, and then you can begin to create a set of ideas of how you're going to talk about what you thought, like what was your creative process for that one particular thing. Because a lot of people also will buy stuff based off of how the sausage is made. That's why there's so many interviews and podcasts and panels and things now that go into that marketing discussion. Like Apex said, go on other people's YouTube channels to promote your books. That's going to be huge, is when you get your pitch done and your unique selling point, know how you can develop your more or less the monologue they're going to give you, or be prepared to answer questions on the thing, because that's what you're going to be pitching them on. And that goes into our next thing, which is building a strong online presence, which this is where Jose and David kind of flinch, being all digital hermits for a little bit.
I mean, you're not wrong.
But this is helpful that you guys are on at least a weekly show that gets turned into a podcast. And you've also been on other shows and other podcasts. I myself have tried to been on other panels, which gets turned into online content. I'm halfway active on Instagram. I need to be more active. Twitter unfortunately died and is now just mass banning accounts. So I have lost 2 Twitter accounts this year. So I'm moving over to Blue Sky. Elon doesn't like it when you block him.
What?
Be on YouTube, Twitch, something like that. I would say find something that is on a discoverable platform, and if you'll be able to like Google or look up platforms with good discoverability. For a while, that was TikTok. TikTok's getting a little flooded now, but it's still there. I think YouTube is kind of taking that place again, as well as Instagram. Instagram's new search features are really well, as well as their like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts are going to be kind of the big players in the space right now, I think. So if you're an artist, this is a great time for you to showcase you creating pieces of your comic or whatever. If you have like recording yourself doing the speed drawing, which if you don't you just set your phone above your page as you draw it, and then when you upload it, set it to 2x speed. Put some chill music behind it or something. Do something to showcase your artwork or your level of skill, because that's what people want to fall like. Essentially, and it doesn't have to necessarily be comic related. Bonus points if it is, but if it is just you showing off your style, like if you don't necessarily show off a page, want to show yourself doing a portrait, more power to you. Or talking about certain techniques, if there's something that you know you do particularly well, or something you spent that you just learned yourself, anything like that. If you're a writer, this is where it gets hard for us, because watching someone write is really boring. But start looking into doing. This is going to sound very asinine and very annoying. Video essays. They don't have to be long form. They can be 60-second video essays based off of like news in the space, things related to like stuff that you're passionate about, something that you're going to talk passionately about, because you want to be energetic and enthused in that video. So then people are also energetic and enthused in the comments, and they like it and they subscribe or they follow or they share. And so that's why you end up getting, some comic writers that just talk about boxing. Right? I can't remember her name. She did We Only Kill Each Other. But her social media presence for that entire like media cycle was just talking about boxing and fitness, essentially. And you just have links in your social media, stuff like that, to then pull people to your comic after they follow you for something else. Because writers, you're going to get a little more of like a personality buy-in. People are going to want to read what you wrote based on your personality, as opposed to an artist. That to some extent, for most part, people follow artists for their art. But if you also do video essays and stuff like that, if you can do like well thought out opinions on comic news or things related to your comic, or things like that, if you can become kind of a sense of, or a voice of, an expert voice in that space. So like if I was doing Wolf Hunter, if I did a bunch of like 60-second videos on YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, talking about, this plane did this, or this, the train that ran from London to Liverpool was known for this, or during the Blitz, the Germans did this. That's something where you can build an audience with an interest in the topic and your personality, that then will be easier to convert when you post a video like, hey, by the way, I have a comic out. You should go pre-order it here, or you can like, hey, I have a link in my bio. Please go click it and buy my comic. It helps me a lot. Things like that. And when you're doing all this stuff, always have your call to action in mind, which thankfully in comics, it's fairly simple. It's just buy my comic.
Right, please.
My comic.
Yeah.
Buy my comic.
And find ways to add that tag in natural spaces. Sometimes it's just at the end. Sometimes it's in the description and related text, things like that. But have something in there. On Twitch, we can't really do it necessarily. So instead, I have like banners below my stream that do that. But I have a couple of chat rewards where people can redeem chat points for being active in chat and doing stuff like that. They'll get rewards. They can like points for their time spent watching that they can spend to get me to do something strange on stream. One of them is called a repost, which is I will tell a story from my life that may be real or may be fake, and then it's up to chat to decide what they think it is. And well, sometimes doing an improvised story in the middle of like a ranked Halo match or something has been difficult on the brain space. It has been something that has done well. So kind of think of it the natural evolution of the writer who does the haiku at cons, right?
I have a friend that does that. Yeah.
Yeah. But video seems to be the best place for awareness and discoverability right now. Like if you're just trying to get as many people to see your face, video is going to be where it's at. And then take that onto podcasts. But there's going to be other people's podcasts with video. So like the Silverline show on Tuesday, where we have this goes live every Tuesday, gets sent to YouTube, and then as a VOD afterwards, where then it gets served there. But then also gets served on podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, things like that afterwards. You actually find that a lot of our awareness and recall comes from the audio recording afterwards as opposed to the video. But the video, they lift each other. You wouldn't want to do one without the other.
Right.
And then part of this comes into some of the older methods of doing online marketing, which there's still value there. And again, this comes to testing out the things like, do you find that you get a lot of good response when you're doing video stuff? Do you find that doing Facebook stuff gets good response? Things like that. I will say going back. One of the reasons why a lot of comic creators have a tough time with Facebook ads is because they do ads as static images. Static images are great ads if you're doing a coupon or a t-shirt. You're going to want to do a paid ad as a reel. And it could be a speed drawing, something like that. And you don't not necessarily want to do it as a paid ad, you want to do it as like a boosted post, where you throw a couple bucks at it and it gets served to more people outside of your normal network. And that's kind of the main thing you just want to do, is you just want to find ways to do small boosts where you're just getting your stuff outside of your network to new faces and new eyes, and hopefully draw them in. And their goal is going to be to build a following with that, not necessarily to do straight conversions. It's a little counterintuitive, I know, but your main thing is going to be brand awareness, because your creation is your brand, your name is your brand. So if you're just doing a speed drawing, showing off, hey, here's what I do, here's my skill set, I hope you guys like it, and you spend $15 on it, tell Instagram to serve that reel to people outside your network, or YouTube, do that short out people outside your normal network, then that's where it's going to end up getting eyes onto it, and people who just want to follow you can, and it doesn't feel like they're being pressured into buying a comic, and they're not going to look away immediately because it doesn't feel like an ad. If you're just seeing a static image of a comic panel, it says like paid post, buy now, kind of have to think about like the layers of engagement, right?
Right.
That'd be something you probably want to see inside of a actual trade magazine, which unfortunately is pretty much just Diamond Brewer. So going back to the old school stuff, this is where I'll ask you guys another question. Jose, David, do you guys have websites? Have you ever messed with having a website? Is it something you've stuck around with, or has it just been kind of something you did and like, oh, this is rather annoying, and then left it sit?
I had a WordPress website for a while where I would post stuff, and most of it was like things I would post because I wanted to share what I did in art school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's mostly where I started it from. Just kind of wanting to kind of, I guess, digitally vomit what, you know what I mean, what I felt about something and whatnot. And then I forgot the password, and then I couldn't get into it. Then I couldn't even find it. So I may do it again.
Sure.
But past that, I considered having a website just so I can put my work up there and then link it to like an online store. But that's a whole lot of digital stuff that this old man does not understand.
That's fair. I don't have a sponsorship, but if you look at Squarespace options, it is simple, easy. Just click a template and put things in there. It's very hard to screw up.
Yeah, I had a domain name for like probably 10 years, but it's been kind of parked on just a static page. I used to have it played around with it originally, and I used to have it locally and had DNS pointed to a server that I had running, but no, it's about as far as it went. It's just parked right now, so there's not really anything there.
Yeah.
Wanted to, because I wanted to go through and just put up some stuff, just kind of gallery type stuff, things like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
But yeah, it's getting the time to sit there and learn it and all that stuff is challenging for me. So
Yeah.
Well, just the time to curate your own work to put up. Like I kind of have stuff all over my iPad. I have stuff all over my computer. So like I would have to sit there, and that's at least maybe a good day or two just I have most everything organized, but like I would have to like reorganize it so I know what I put up there and stuff. So
Sure.
yeah, a lot of my stuff is it's been gone for years. A lot of my stuff was on like digital media, like backup CDs and all that,
yeah,
and then those have a surprisingly short lifespan. So I have a lot of print work, stuff that scanned from print work, but I used to have a whole bunch of all the original files and stuff, but most of it's pretty much gone the way of the. I have the discs, but they're unreadable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That is, yeah.
I had to go out and buy like a specific thing, and I think I saw it on Facebook or whatever. You know how if you talk to someone on your here at home and whatnot, your Facebook picks up, you know,
Yes.
I'm telling you, that's why I bought it because this is exactly what happened. I was telling my wife, I need something to be able to read hard drives that I pulled out of our old computers because I threw the towers away. I need
Mhm.
something to be able to plug it into my computer so I can read those hard drives. And I'm not kidding, like 2, 3 hours later, all of a sudden I was getting ads for this thing on my Facebook. I'm like, okay, Skynet is listening.
Mhm.
We all know this. So I went ahead and bought it. But yeah, I had to buy a cord, and I don't think the cord I have works for some reason. I don't know why. It's nothing different. It's like a old camera cord. But anyway, I have so much artwork that I had before I even went to art school. I also have the original digital files for my first comic book I ever made on there. So I want to get them. I was going to reprint the comic because my friend Troy taught he was my backer. He was the money. That's the way he referred to himself as, and
Yeah.
I was the talent. And we made a book together. And so uh, he said, "Dude, what if we do a reprint?" I was like, "I can do that. I just gotta figure out which hard drive it's on." But yeah,
Right.
like so, I have those. I have to condense everything back into one solitary hard drive. But like I just like Dave, man. I got hard drives and some flash drives full of like artwork and stuff like that I keep putting off to the side and saving. Like I'm gonna save on here. I'm gonna save on here just so I don't lose it.
yeah, it's I've got some things. It's really hard because you talk about drives and that and getting rid of the towers, a lot of that stuff. Just also remember that a lot of those older ones were not encrypted, and nowadays
Right.
there's a big push for encryption. So just being able to pop them in to another system creates its own problems there if it's encrypted. Um, but then you also have you have other things like USB adapters that you can throw some drives in. I know from my day job at my office there, I had 5.5 inch and a so not a 5.5, a 3.5 inch and a 2.5 inch compatible. You just slap your SATA drive in there and it's a USB mounted. So you got things like that. But
Right.
there's still a lot of things, and maybe this is something that we should actually touch on. I don't know if we can briefly touch on here, but a really big thing to keep track of is what are you going to do with your files?
Mhm.
How are you going to back up your files? a lot of people say, "Oh, I just go get a USB drive, I plug it in, I throw the files on that." Very short-lived.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're easily
So
corruptible.
and they're corruptible. So you're looking at this point where you kind of have to figure out, well, what's my planned lifespan for this USB drive before I have to replace it with another USB drive, or you dealing with things like a NAS, that's more reliable than a standard USB. Typically if you're using a format that's doing the drive cloning, so two drives that are backing each other up. If you lose one, you got the second one. But then you've got other things like some of the digital services like Dropbox, things like that you can also use. But then you also need to kind of sit there and ask yourself, are you going to what kind of rights or thing is Dropbox or any of those services doing, putting towards the content that you've created? What what do they want to keep, or what do they consider usable, especially in an age now with AI?
Yeah, be
that's
careful with
up there.
Yeah. At our work, we have a policy that every time a piece of creative is created, it has to be uploaded to our cloud server as well as sent to a physical external hard drive. And that's typically the combination you find best is getting a blocky external hard drive, like one of the micro towers, and then a cloud server as well. But when you're looking at cloud options, make sure to read through their agreements or look up what people find on their agreements online, because I think Dropbox and Google's Google Drive both have things in there that allows them to scour your uploaded content with their AI training tools.
Yeah.
So if you do that, look into one of the AI poisoning plugins you can get for your digital workspace that essentially will corrupt your file for AI so it can't copy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, I think personally, we were taught, I think generationally, we were taught to read everything. You know what I mean? If we're going to sign our name on something, read everything.
Yeah.
Like if we don't understand it, then voice it, say something, say, yo, I don't understand this. What does this mean? What are you trying to say here? Right. But I don't feel that is the same case with like people younger than say my generation, because I think with everything that, from like video games that have you sign an agreement to say, oh, blah, 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 licensing agreement. I just want to play a game. Click. Yes, I agree. The idea of reading through isn't nearly as prominent as when we were taught to do it.
I think definitely it used to be the case for my generation, millennials, like a little bit ago. However, with the uptick in just rampant data breaches and understanding that how much of your data corporations have, people have gotten a lot more finicky reading those agreements, which I definitely recommend.
And they should.
They make them harder. I mean, sitting there reading 65 pages of an agreement that's legal jargon is very difficult.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a weird position.
By design.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a weird position because so much of my day job relies on using big data. Like I had mentioned, like to Jose's point, he had talked about an external hard drive, and then he got served an ad for it on his Facebook like several minutes later. And that is 100% the case. And so, ideally, you want to get you as a content creator in a position where when someone says Goonies next to their phone, then when they open up your YouTube Shorts and start like doom scrolling before bed, they then see your Goonies tagged video.
Right.
So we want to get you in that position, but you yourself to avoid that. So I'm a fan of like using people's data to make sure I'm serving them like the ads that they want to see and like getting them the correct product. However, I'm currently using Mozilla Firefox, which is a privacy browser, right, that blocks cookies. I have so many tracker blockers, and I do everything behind a VPN.
Right.
And I'm never logged into Google. So,
the reason I wanted to kind of delve into this is because, on the the thing about content creation and having your stuff up there. I think that's a big thing is how you back up your stuff. What kind of accessibility and all that. So I think that's why I wanted to kind of push this topic here.
Yeah.
Here now. So
yeah, and I'll always recommend people to pick up, if you do art, look at especially digital art and you plan on uploading your stuff online. Look up the tool Nightshade. It should be a free tool through GitHub. Essentially, what it does is when you upload your data, it shifts the metadata on your picture. So it will end up saying when each pixel has data saying this is a green pixel, blah blah. So it'll keep the surface level the same, but that changes the data below that say this is a red pixel even though it's green. So then when the AI scrapes it, it gets all this corrupted information. And so there have been Ars Technica, Verge have all done studies on it, and they can see how it essentially turned an AI that was scraping images of a Cadillac into drawing a very cursed pug. So look up tools like that to keep your artwork safe, because you are going to be pushing online, because that's how you get people to discover you. Going back to websites after talking about data storage, which is also a huge issue you need to figure out. You guys had mentioned that you wanted to have your website up primarily just as a portfolio, and that is 100% the correct call. That's what I recommend, what everyone recommends in the space. If you're an artist, if you're a writer, you can have a blog. It's not as necessary as it used to be, but having a portfolio site up is helpful.
Right.
And it's primarily going to serve as your middle of funnel option. We're going to talk about all the stuff we talked about, making people discover you. That's all top of funnel. This is the middle funnel. This is where people have discovered you, and this is where they learn to love you, is finding your portfolio and being able to browse through that and realize oh, I really like all the stuff they did. So this is going to be something that after someone discovers you on social media or on podcasts, where they go to from there. If you're a writer, this is where then I recommend you end up building a email list, either a blog or an email list. Just something so you're staying in people's minds all the time. You do need to write good or interesting thoughts. So if you feel like you're just writing dribble, maybe go back to the drawing board. But write something that makes people want to be engaged. Because especially in independent comics, these things take a while to get out. And if it goes an entire year without people hearing from you, they're probably going to lose interest in issue 2. So if someone bought issue 1 and they followed your email list and you're emailing them every few months or so, talk about production updates, writing thoughts, things like that, that's going to help. And always ask them to look forward to issue 2 and kind of keep them updated on production progress. That's going to do a whole lot to make sure that you don't have audience drop off.
Awesome. Email, we got to talk to them? We got to send stuff?
Exactly, yeah. You got to make sure that when you're actually talking to people or asking people to buy your stuff, you're also making sure that they know your stuff is out there. And that's really what it comes down to, because your bottom of funnel kind of solves itself. That's going to be your Kickstarter, which that is a whole other episode on good Kickstarter design. We'll leave that one to Roland. He is much more better at that than I am. Or your whatever your web shop is. If you're selling through Amazon, if you're selling through your own store, if you're selling through Indie Planet, your bottom funnel kind of solves itself, and you're kind of locked into whatever the vendor has decided to give you. You can write really compelling copy in the spots given to you, and that is, again, we're going to turn your 15-minute or 15-second elevator pitch into a full paragraph on what is unique about your book, what you think really sells it, and what is the mystery that people want to read it for. Every good story has some level of mystery, right? There's something that needs to be solved. Even like rom-coms, there is do they get together? That's right. Typically, yes, but you never know. But you need to have some sort of open-ended, unanswered question at the end that is drawing people into your book. And cover design and all that stuff. I'll leave cover design to Jose and David. But you're going to want to keep your copy and the description next to it concise, long enough to make them interest, but not long enough, but not too long to lose their interest. So about a paragraph is typically a sweet spot. Sometimes longer, especially if you're on a Kickstarter. If you're on a Kickstarter, you want to go long because you know people are going to want to make sure that they're getting a good quality book because there's so many unknowns about it. But if you're on a vendor site, about a paragraph, make sure you get reviews. Reviews are very important, even if it is just your mom and dad, right? Just make sure you get a couple 5 stars on there with thought out captions or comments if it's available. Because a lot of people do buy books based solely on reviews. So all your friends, your family, they all need to give you a review on whatever site you're selling at. Don't pay for them. That's super shady. And a lot of sites will kick you off for that. But that's kind of the only thoughts I can really give on the bottom of funnel thoughts for your comic and your marketing online. Yeah, that's kind of the surface level, just scratching the top of it, top to bottom. Here's how you get people to know who you are. Here's how you get them to follow you. And then here's how you get them to buy.
Just so you know, Internet, I'm not above begging.
Yes.
Just want to put that out there. Please read my book. Please buy my book.
To sum it up, short-term video, short-length video, podcast appearances, having a decent web structure to keep and stay in people's minds. If you're a writer like me, honestly, I just get by with my existing Twitch streams and my Instagram account. I have not bothered with the newsletter in a while. If I grow beyond the point where I am, I may start doing that again. But typically, I've noticed pretty decent results just with posting painting to Instagram. Right. So
nice.
Things like that. And then making sure that you have a decent length and intriguing description next to your book when it's online.
That's a tough one too. Like, I mean, how often I tend to use the same hashtags like over and over again just because I'm a creature of habit and I don't like change.
How many hashtags do you use?
Honestly, let's see. I'd probably say between like 8 and 12 if I can help it.
That's a good amount.
Right.
I usually recommend between like anywhere between 10 and 30, which can be a lot. Only if you have like not a whole lot of description, but 5 and 15, 10 and 30, those are usually good numbers.
Like I said, I use the same one over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that can be good as well if you're just want to get people in. But if you're just doing, the generic ones like comic art, penciling, drawing, right? That's when we'll need to start adding in some of those niched or related tags. So doing something
right. And when I post stuff about like obsoletes, I always put like sci-fi, I put like adventure, I put a bunch of different other ones that I kind of one of my fellow classmates said when she does hashtags, she'll make her post and then she'll actually like build a hashtag list separately and then add it in as a comment. So I actually have semi-started on a piece of paper somewhere a hashtag list of ones that I use more often than anything, and then ones that like, oh, maybe I could have used this on something, so I'll write it down on a pile of papers over here.
Yeah. It's like, let me see if I can find something here. Nope, that's Henry Cavill playing or Space Marine 2. Excellent. Find my meta search. I think we had a cursed. Okay.
I was also told that interacting with like other people's posts, like if I have like friends that make posts and whatnot, making a comment and just interacting with those, as well as interacting with people that interact online. Some people are like,
Yes.
oh, like that looks cool, or I don't like it, I want to punch you in the nose. Interacting with those and
Yeah, and there is also an interesting thing to that as well, because you're going to want to interact around the same time that you actually make your post. So if you're posting on it, then go on to the website and actually start interacting with stuff, because for whatever reason, they'll feed you more favorably if you're interacting at the same time as you're posting. I'm trying to find good hashtag list, but it's hard to find one. But yeah, 5 to 15 hashtags, and then you're going to want to make those like a variable things. So like, you may not always use like the generic term, like use the generic terms, but then also if there's something you think it looks kind of like, or something that you got inspired you when you're working on that, include that there as well. It's like with the obsoletes. Yeah, you might also throw something in there like Black Science or whatever, just some other
right.
like related hashtag. Yeah.
I try.
Yeah. But yeah, interacting helps a lot, and then you're going to interact at the same time as the post, because the right social media encourages you to spend more time scrolling through so they can serve you ads. So if you're doing the thing that they want you to do after you post, they're then going to do you something nice in return, kind of, and push your thing forward because they know that you're a good user of their website.
So what I'm hearing is I got to be nice to Skynet.
Yes. Yeah. I'm giving you permission to scroll through TikTok after you post something.
Right.
Yeah. What are you doing? I'm working.
It's all part of the game, I guess.
Yeah. And that's the weird thing, is it is a game and everything has like metrics and numbers to follow. Follow them to a healthy degree, but don't get so hooked in the metrics that you end up wanting to, become
Right.
a hermit and forgo all internet communication. Just check yourself like every week or every month. Like, am I doing better than I was last month? Great. That's all I need to know. I'll check back in 30 days.
I mean, Hermit's already happening. I can't change that. Like I said, I have Deb and my wife and friends are like, "Hey, what are you doing? Have you eaten? No, I'm coming to get you." You just want to get me out in the sunlight.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Don't they know that you melt in the sunlight?
I know, evidently not. You walk out like I don't understand how people do that.
I'm the same way. It's like all day I'm for my primary job I'm inside all day in front of a computer, and then move over here afterwards. And it's like if I actually force myself to go outside, it's like, wow, it's bright out here.
Right?
Yeah.
and it's like kind of relaxing out here. I'm supposed to be inside. I'm supposed to be doing something, and then I go back inside.
I have a swimming pool. I have an in-ground swimming pool, and even I barely use it. And my wife's like, "Listen, we need to go take a business meeting." I'm like, "All right." Like, I guess. And it's like pulling teeth just to get in the pool. But as soon as I'm in there, I'm like, okay, now I don't want to get out. This is
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's getting me to that point. Like, excuse me. It was basically the same way with, networking and like talking to people, being sociable at conventions. And I would just sit there and, hi, right? And now I gotta say, oh, hey, how you doing? You like comics? Check this out. Like, I got stuff. Like, what do you like? And I'm no Roland because Hef is just he is that person that just talks to everybody, and it's pretty awesome to like watch him work. But I try.
No.
I've gotten better over the years, and then now I gotta evidently learn to be better on social media so I can just promote my brand and promote my name, and then get people to pick up the books we work on.
Yeah. And again, this is like nothing is going to be a one fixed solution for everyone. It's all going to be trial and error across the board. So take time, run tests. Don't throw all your money at one thing at once. Nothing is going to be like a one-shot solution. So never, like, if you have $100 to market your book, don't spend $100 on the first thing. Like, throw like a few bucks here and there until you find something like, oh, people are sticking with this, and then run with that. And it could be that it's just organic for you, and that it's just podcast appearances and doing your own creative content on the side, and then spend that money towards banners or posters at local cons or something like that.
Right? I carry my banner everywhere.
Yeah. I still have Pete's banner in the back.
That's amazing.
Okay. Did you guys have any other questions?
No, not really.
Okay.
I think we covered a lot. Is there any questions inside of the chat or anything? Or?
Yeah, we'll stay around for a little bit for chat to see if they have questions. But hopefully everyone felt this was, informative, and hopefully covered a little more details than you would be more than, apparent at a surface level.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you had a whole heap of information on this because, like I said, I don't. Promoting myself, to me, it's hard. I feel like I'm not very good at talking about myself, and I think that's what promoting yourself is really just talking about yourself or talking about what you're doing, and it's so difficult.
It can be, but when you do those like short form video things, if you're like, something I've seen really pop off is doing a short form video where it's just a recording of like a speed drawing, essentially, while the person talks about something recently. And it could just be talking about something that you're passionate about, like either it's something that you just learned about, like, oh, I just learned how to do this new art technique, or just talking about, something you know is passionate and you're passionate about. Or I had one where someone was talking about pickleball. Got served me recently. But just find something that you're passionate about and something that you want to talk about, because then that's going to be exciting for the people following as well.
Right.
I got a hair stuck to my mouse.
Maybe your mouse is hairy.
Yes, yeah. Okay, well, I don't think we have any questions in chat. So I'll end our stream here shortly. This has been That's Everyone Show on Tuesday. We do have shows on Wednesday and Sunday, Wednesday Wham and Silver Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, those respective days. Make sure to check them out. We will be back next week with a topic that I have yet to figure out. So, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll get it going. Yeah. In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week. And until that time,
I find my little
Right.
Big Vines,
Silverline. Go.
Hey, I'm G-Rod. Make mine Silverline. You heard me.